Welcome to episode 143 of In Touch with iOS, a podcast that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I am your host, Dave Ginsburg, and my co-host, Warren Sklar, is here. How you doing, Warren?
I'm doing good. It feels like it was just Thursday.
Yeah, it was like a week ago.
I know, that was a quick week, I guess.
Hey, you're sounding really good. You got that mic really. I haven't you haven't touched it. And
I put super glue. I put crazy glue in the settings so I don't move anything.
That Behringer mixer of yours. Yeah, and welcome back. We also welcome back to the show, Mr. Jeff Gamet. How you doing, Jeff? Glad you're here.
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back. It's always a blast to get to hang out with both of you.
Absolutely. So we've got lots of news this week, as always. Some good stories. Beta got more active. We'll be talking about that. Security updates and some app rankings. We're going to talk about the apps and how that's rankings site and find out what we use in these apps here. But there'll be lots of things to talk about. But let's go right to the news. And the first story, this is actually in the Mac Observer. Happy birthday, Apple. It's actually today as we record this, April Fools. It's founded on April 1st, 1976. Apple was 45 years old as of today. And the company was founded, of course, by Mr. Steve Jobs, Mr. Steve Wozniak, and Mr. Ron Wayne on this day. Mm-hmm. And we have to always kind of chuckle to say how much of a billionaire Mr. Wayne would be if he wouldn't have got cold feet and left his company there a few days after they had incorporated. So what are your thoughts and history of Apple, Jeff, and where things have gone all these years? And I know that's kind of a loaded question, but there's just so much Apple has done for this world for all those years.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, Apple for me, no better way to say it. I've been on the Apple train for a long time.
Yep.
Like I remember getting to use Apple II computers, not even 2 Plus,
yep,
but Apple II computers back in the day, and learning how to program in BASIC back then, and this will kind of date me. My first computer that was like actually my computer was a Franklin Ace 1000.
Oh my gosh!
An Apple IIe clone.
I remember those.
And and it was great. And I think that my appreciation and enjoyment of computer technology would be very different today had Apple not been a big part of that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I got in late. But I did use Apple IIs when I was in high school, so that dates me as well. So the Apple II was the program, the computer to use in the lab in my high school back in those days. And one game really stands out to me that I played on the Apple II was the Brusky Duck. Do you remember that game?
I forgot about that game.
Yeah, it's still in my mind to this day. And Cranston Manor was another one.
Cranston Manor.
Yeah,
the one that I was so hooked on. Actually, there were 2 games. The first one was Lode Runner.
Yep.
And I got into making Lode Runner levels, and in college, people would come to my dorm room so they could play my Lode Runner levels. And the other one was Ultima 3.
I remember that.
I think it was Ultima 3. And I lost a lot of sleep playing that game.
Yeah, and I did basic. I was doing basic programming. I remember doing that, and then I got out of high school and was a bad direction in my life, and didn't go into the computer world and went the wrong direction. But I came back in 2005 and with Apple, and I've been here ever since. So, any memories for you, Warren, with the Apple and their birthday?
We crossed paths a few times in my life, I think. I have vague memories of them being in my grade school. Maybe being in 5th grade and seeing something like that.
How old are you? Like 12?
That's right.
Well, I'm turning 50 next month. So So wait a second. Does that even make sense?
You were probably
76. Yeah, no. It makes total sense. It was founded in 76. I was 5 years old.
45 years ago.
Yeah,
So-
that sounds about right. So there was maybe some Apple computer like in the 80s, like the 80. Yeah.
I was
why
10.
not?
So
Let's go with it. So I remember that. And then I took a course, not a course, but a child programming thing once, and I remember them being Apple computers, and I think one of my friends had one, and I just remember being amazed with the paint program. Like I would go over his house, he had like one of the early Apples with the painting, whatever they called it, paint. Microsoft called it paint. I don't know what Apple called theirs. Anybody?
yeah, it was. I think it was
Mac,
Paint.
It was Mac Paint. If
Mac
it
Paint.
was-
That's it.
Okay.
If it was on the Apple,
And Windows was MS Paint is what it was. So that's what they did. So I remember doing that. And then, then kind of got geeky and did everything. So, but mostly Windows stuff.
Well, that's all
Also,
we do.
Ronald Wayne says he's happy that, how he is. He's saying if he would have got all his money, he wouldn't have been as happy as he was. So,
Yeah, he is happy. I mean, granted, he's living on
Good for
Social
him.
Security. He lives in Nevada, and
I mean, he could be dead. Who knows what would have happened if he, whatever. He's good.
no, good for him. Yeah,
Yep.
It's just some people were like, why did you do that? But hey,
well, I mean, he had to make the best decision he could with the
Yeah.
information available to him, and he did not have a time machine.
no, he didn't.
Therefore,
but-
he did what he thought was
But
right.
Forrest Gump and Lieutenant Dan did pretty well. I'll tell you that much. For the
They
Apple stock.
did.
Yeah, they bought something in that fruit company, and it's
They did okay.
now they own a lot of bubblegum shrimps.
Bubblegum,
restaurants
oh, yeah.
all over. Yeah.
That's right, Bubba Gump.
So, all right. Well, happy birthday, Apple. We all love
was depressing.
your products. So it was depressing.
that was
This
a
is the
depressing presentation of your birthday.
Yeah, no, it was. I think we're all very pleased with the products we get from Apple. So, but speaking of depressing, Microsoft shuts down Cortana app on iOS and Android as expected. Microsoft today discontinued the Cortana mobile app. As a result, the company ended all support for third-party Cortana skills and eliminated the Cortana app completely. For those those of you who are unfamiliar with Cortana, it's a Microsoft version of the S Lady or the A Lady, and it's AI-based personal assistant that was really bad. I don't think I have to go on very much on this, but other than the fact that RIP Cortana, don't you think, Jeff?
The big news here is not that Microsoft discontinued the Cortana app. The big news is the Cortana app was actually still a thing all the way up until today. I had no idea. I assumed that it had been gone long ago, considering Microsoft has really changed their whole strategy with Cortana and the focus. And I had no idea. So when I saw the news, the big surprise was Cortana was actually still a thing.
I said, no surprise.
The
What do you think,
surprising
Warren?
part, it's surprising that there was actually one voice assistant that was worse than Siri, and that was it. So,
I think they're all equally bad.
Yeah.
They have different things that each is better at, and they have different things that each is worse at. And I say this as someone that probably needs therapy on some level, because I actually have all three voice assistants in my living room.
yeah, we did. We all did.
You think you need therapy? I need therapy too.
No,
Because
we
I'm
all-
the
we all
same
have-
thing. I have.
Oh, well, let's start a support group.
Yeah, they got the home hub sitting right here in front of me. I got HomePod
the thing
above
with that
me,
too-
and the A lady behind me.
You could jury rig your iPhone to say to respond to OK Google and it's the Amazon one too.
Echo.
But it's convoluted. I tried it once because I have a few HomeKit devices that only work with like Amazon and Google and not with HomeKit. So I
Right.
tried the whole thing. Like, so you got to say like, "Hey SE, tell GG to open up, and it was a pain in the butt. So, anyways, Cortana I had on my phone at one point. I played with it. They're all the same for the most part, but
yeah.
All I know is when you set up Windows for the first time, that's the first thing you turn off is Cortana talking to you, telling you how to
Windows 10, Windows 10, no Cortana,
no. I'll just if you don't want to hear me, just turn out.
Yes, leave me alone. All right. Next story. Both of these are all been Mac rumors. Uber, their iOS app, could soon include augmented reality directions for finding your driver. What a concept! Uber
the driver finds you. You don't find the driver. I don't understand how that goes.
Well, Uber apparently is working on an augmented reality.
Uber in Vegas.
Well, I have, and I understand. Yes, there's 3 different entrances or exits that you could find Uber, but for most of the times, you're not chasing after your driver that way. But I guess I get it.
Well, what the article says is Uber is apparently working on an augmented reality walking directions feature designed to help Uber users to find the appropriate vehicle and driver in a crowded area. So maybe you're at a Cubs game, and then when we have lots of fans around, and try to find believe me, I've been at Wrigley Field and trying to find an Uber is next to impossible. You have to wait an hour after everybody leaves. But the way they show this as the experience, it says tap to enter the AR walking experience. It reads the code, which also includes a bunch of snippets here, including walk outside, tilt your camera up, pan your camera, ready, set, walk. So I think this is just more of a concept of an AR that's really taking off, don't you think, Jeff? I mean, it's just AR is just we're gonna keep hearing about AR just really in general, but I think this is a good idea for
I think
Uber.
this is an excellent real world use for AR outside of gaming, and just being able to hold up your phone and walk around and be like, oh yeah, this way now. The cynical part of me is thinking, how many more phones are going to get stolen in crowded places because people are walking around like this? They're just holding the phone out so someone can come by and snap it out of their hand. Yeah. But
I think more people are going to walk into walls, actually. But
or walk into the street and get hit.
Or into the street, if you're staring at your phone, rather than staring out in front of you. But
yeah, well, I mean, the idea with the AR part is you'll see what's in front of you as well, but Warren, your point is still completely spot on, because even with seeing what's right in front of them, there will be people that are going to walk into poles, walk into walls, step into fountains.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I've seen plenty of YouTube videos of that, especially in the mall.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Those teenage girls.
Just boosh right into the fountain. But still, I think this is actually a good idea, because
it is,
especially like in places like Vegas, trying to find where you're really supposed to be for your Uber can be like really frustrating.
No, it's also frustrating when they go the wrong way and you're tracking them on your phone and you start yelling at the phone and saying, "No, you're going the wrong. You're leaving. You're leaving the drive."
Yeah.
So that will be more fun in AR, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
on your phone.
Yeah. Absolutely. And Apple this week announced Digital WWDC 2021. The event will be taking place on June 7th through the 11th. Apple this week did confirm that the 32nd annual Worldwide Developers Conference will again be a digital-only event with no in-person gathering due to the ongoing public health crisis. It's just like last year's event was. And then prior to 2020, they of course hosted the conference in San Jose. But at the current time, they still don't think it's safe to have all these developers together. So we had quite a debate. We had a little bit of a debate on Mac Voices Live, Jeff and I, this week about this. And as far as will it continue to be digital, and will it be something that maybe will Apple make it a hybrid type of event? There's AltConf and other alt conferences. I've never been to WWDC, so I can't comment. But obviously, Jeff, you have been there many times. What do you think? Do you think the digital event? I don't mind the digital event. One of the things I was going to say was the fact that you got 2 million developers out there. Isn't that about the number where Apple is as far as developers go?
So,
there's a lot.
Sure, I'll accept 2 million.
All of those developers now can attend the event. They can see the virtual conferences. They can, we all, of course, would always watch the keynote, but you have the state of developers and the state of App Store and all that stuff that the people do during DubDub. But now they have the option to be able to go there, and it doesn't cost them anything anymore because it's not cheap to go there. Right. So, what do you think, Jeff?
Well, I'm glad that Apple chose to go virtual again this year because it would have been, I feel, irresponsible to have an in-person event. We're still too deep in the pandemic, and there's not enough people that are vaccinated. So, this is the way to go. Next year, I would love to see what you mentioned, a hybrid event where it's the in-person stuff, but you can also just tune in for everything. And I think that would be the way to go. But, and I'll preface this with, I really, really, really want to be wrong. I think that Apple is probably going to stick with WWDC as an online-only event going forward. And that sucks because the in-person element for WWDC is invaluable. And there's so many people that show up for the event that didn't get tickets to the event because there's AltConf, there's Layers, and I think a couple others that are going on at the same time. Yeah. So you have this massive developer community that's together. And there are so many different things that you can participate in without WWDC ticket in hand. And losing things like that, I think, would just really be sad. But I think that's what's going to happen. Apple, I don't think they're going to go back to an in-person event. And like I said, I really want to be wrong.
Yeah, I hope you are. What do you think, Warren?
They got the theater that they're not really using, and I probably do want to use it a little bit more for
Steve
things.
Jobs Theater, yeah.
I mean, I think Jeff is right. The in-person thing, is invaluable. I went to 1 year, and I'm not a developer, so as a non-developer, I'm sure I'm not the only non-developer that went to that thing because, it's also fun. And I went to see Tim Cook live. I went to see, Apple stuff live. And it was nice, but probably about 80% or at least more was not valuable to me, but it was just cool to be there. So my answer is, as a developer, you're probably better off with the virtual. As, maybe developer, non-developer fanboy, you're definitely better off going there live because that's why you're doing it. I don't, as far as what direction they're going to go, I actually think that's how, society is going to go. If society starts moving back towards, live conferences and things like that, I think Apple will follow that way. And if they go hybrid, they're not going to be the only place that goes hybrid. It's going to be CES. It's going to be all these other tech conferences that are out there too. Right. So that could be the best of both worlds for the people who can't go and people who still can't go. So
see how it goes. I hope they do go. I hope they go at least hybrid. That is, and I would hope a lot of these conferences, take that into an account. I mean, I believe CES is going to do it next year. They're going to do a hybrid model, which is great. I'll still want to go because just like you said, we're getting the camaraderie of everybody and being able to see people in person. So, and
people who actually go to WWDC, I think if it was hybrid, they still would want to go to WWDC. Even before the virtual, last year, you were still able to watch watch everything after the event on the app. So, I mean, all the classes were available. It was sort of the same as almost being live. So, they were halfway there. Apple
did update the developer app. That's recently updated. So that's of course, doesn't have much information. As far as what we expect, obviously, in the next month or two, we'll definitely be talking about that. And expect you definitely can expect iOS 15. You're probably going to expect.
It's going to be 14.5. It's going to be released at WWDC. Pretty sure at this point.
Is that what they're saying? Oh.
That's the rumor. They're going to finally release 14.5 at the conference.
Well, we'll talk about that.
Say this is a great
every
day.
Tuesday, I keep thinking, okay, this is the day 14.5 is coming out, and each Tuesday it's just another beta.
It's like at this point, I think they're just trolling us at this point.
They
can
string us along as they want.
We'll talk about beta just here in just a sec here. But let me move on here. One last story. Apple actually did announce that they made some changes to the Apple support app that just happened actually today as we record this on April Fool's. Apple today did a update to the Apple support app. It gains updated coverage details, reservation reminders, and a new app clip. And they've streamlined this app for more usefulness to getting service and support for Apple devices. They broke it down where there's a section of the app where it actually has coverage details, now offers more information. I actually went into the app. I don't know if you guys have downloaded the Apple app support app yet, but it does. Yeah,
I played with it a little bit. Yeah.
I'm actually happy. I think it's a great update. I'm trying to go to the app here. Sorry. So the great thing about it is as soon as you open up the app, it goes right to your products. So when you open it up, it's like, boom, there's my devices. Because you would always have to fish through and try to get the support that you needed. So there's my iPhone, there's my Apple Watch, there's my Mac, there's my Apple TV, there's my Mac Mini, and then it has all the service. This is, you scroll down, you got your My Services, including your Apple Card, the Apple One bundle, Music, TV Plus, and so on, and then other products too. With your AirPods, the App Store. So I think I like this. This is just simple.
That's nice.
So here's the weird thing about it. So one of the best parts about some of these apps are when you need the serial number of your device that you don't have on you. Right. Go into your apps, all of you. You'll see that only the Apple Watch shows the full serial number. All your other products have it.
Device details. Out. Yeah, that's right.
Just the Apple Watch has a full serial number. Everything else just has the last 4 digits. So
that's weird.
Explain that.
Oh wait, no, I see my full serial number.
No, you don't. Maybe on the device you're on.
Oh, the app. Let me see that. Okay, there's the app. That's the iPhone. Let me see my iPad. Device details. Oh, okay. Yeah, because it's the app I was on. Yeah. Oh man, my iPad's coverage is expired. Yeah, it's because it's old.
But the Apple Watch, having the Apple Watch on there, the serial number is very handy because when you try to get coverage, it's the only way to copy and paste it into something. So
and I have this feeling it's if you're checking it from your iPhone, the Apple Watch is linked to your iPhone, so I think that's the reason why that the serial number is visible. That would my thought.
I wonder if you go on your Mac, if it tells you anything more.
Check your iPad. So, but make sure you download it. I think they've done a much better job of streamlining things to make it a lot easier to get support for, especially when I reach out to a Genius and Apple stores and the whole fun stuff, and checking your coverage is much more streamlined. So check that out.
Real-time update from your Mac. You can see all your serial numbers. So I don't know why the phone does not want you to do that.
Very strange.
This does look a lot nicer.
It does.
Oh my God. I had to tap show more.
You probably have a lot of devices.
Yes.
I had a few on my list.
Okay. And I have to scroll to see everything.
Oh my Lord.
I went through my list. That's how I found out.
Do you own all those devices?
Going through the list is how I found out Guy was still on my iCloud when I sold him his
my
laptop.
Yeah.
There's an extra MacBook Pro on here because my 15-inch MacBook Pro was replaced by Apple at one point. At least the motherboard was, so it appeared as a new one. So so there is one extra device on here.
Got it. All right, that's the news for this week. Let's important. Make sure everybody upgrades. And if Apple did release 14.4.2 that fixes an actively exploited security vulnerability that happened last Friday. So it'll be about almost a week ago before, as we're recording this. It's a minor security update, but it comes close to 3 weeks after the release of 14.4.1 and a month after 14.4. The update can, of course, be downloaded for free through the software updates and eligible devices. You just go to Settings, General, and go to Software Update. According to the security support document, the impact is processing maliciously crafted web content may lead to universal cross-site scripting. And Apple is aware of this report and this it had been actively exploited. So for those of you who are not on beta, which is me on my primary device, make sure you do your updates. They also release an update to older devices that are still running iOS 12, so 12.5.2. That is also going to be available for security updates. So I can't stress enough, it's a security update. Do it. I don't think that hasn't been. You guys heard anything?
You definitely don't want cross-site scripting, whatever that is. It sounds bad. But you don't want it. It sounds like something you don't want to have happen to you.
No. So, but whenever Apple says it's a pretty substantial security update, you really should.
They could have said
install it.
It prevents kitty fur balls, and you would still do it because you don't know what it means. So, yeah.
Well, just all we have to say is, for those of you who don't care, WebKit or scripting or any of that stuff, when they say security update, just do it.
I say don't do it. Just wait for 14.5. You'll be fine.
Okay.
Just don't do the updates.
Out
of a protest. A protest to Apple. I'm not going to update my device until you give me the actual update I want so I can wear my stupid mask and use my phone. Anyways, go ahead.
Well, there are people who don't
show Apple, Warren.
I'm showing Apple. I'm going to tell all the customers not to update.
Speaking of showing Apple, Beta
Updates.
6 was just released this week. So they just released the sixth version of iOS 14.5 beta. It's a public beta, is available as well. Of course, the unlocking with the Apple Watch was the big change and all that stuff that's in here. But there was some interesting things in relation to diversity. The fact that now Siri's voice is not going to be defaulted to a female voice. There are new choices that were added here. We have an article back in 9to5Mac that referred to this. Apple had said that they're excited to introduce 2 new Siri voices for English speakers and the option for Siri users to select the voice they want when they set up their device. This was a statement from Apple. This is a continuation of Apple's long-standing commitment to diversity and inclusion in products and services that are designed to better reflect the diversity of the world we live in. So the report did go on to explain that the new voices are use quote unquote source talent recordings that are run through Apple's neutral text to speech engine, allowing the voices to flow more organically, even when phrases are being generated on the fly. And I haven't even listened to them yet. Warren, have you listened to the new voices at all? I hadn't a chance to do that.
Yeah, I changed it to the other female voice, who sounds a little bit more laid back and a little bit more flowy, like going with the flow, hey Siri, do this. Hey, you got it, dude. I'm good. Except what really happens is she just, sounds better when she tells me she can't do what I'm asking it to do. But for the most part, the voices are pretty much the same.
I figured.
And I don't understand the diversity part. I mean, I guess male and female is what they're talking about in the diversity, because
yes.
I was
actually biased. It shouldn't be female. I mean, it should be a choice.
I was going to see if it was, if one of the voices had more of a dialect, or maybe something to do with the skin color, or things like. It's nothing like that. It's just boy versus girl. And again, one sounds a little bit more natural and a little bit more like I'm having a conversation with you rather than just the old Siri. But I don't know. They're getting a little too far with the diversity. They should have just said, "Hey, we added 2 new voices."
It's a new world out there.
Yeah. At this point, they're just going to have to add a robot voice as a default voice.
So it's not partial to
either. Yeah, it's going to be
Yeah.
Beep, 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 beep.
Jeff, you're itching to make a comment on this.
Do you want to hear it?
I'm just
I don't
thinking
know if you wanna
that we
hear
need to
him.
get Warren and the S lady into some therapy sessions together because there are clearly some issues that need to be worked out.
Hold on.
Hey, S lady, where can we get therapy for Warren and you?
Were you trying to try to play it?
Yeah, I've been playing with the new voices, and right now I'm using the new female voice, and for me, the male voices tend to get a little bit muddy sounding sometimes, so I just use the female voices. So we'll see how this one works, and as far as giving people an option at setup, if they want male or female, I'm totally cool with that because for a lot of people, they've never been given the option to express themselves through gender, sexuality, and giving them options, giving everyone options.
Absolutely.
I think is good. So
I do too.
That's
I have just a tip. Don't try to use Siri while doing a podcast because I tried to use Siri on my phone just so you guys could listen to it, and all of a sudden all my audio stopped on my Mac. So
this is why he lives in beta. This is the exact
I don't
example.
even think that's a beta issue. I think it's this handoff thing that just never worked right. But anyways, that was fun.
Yeah,
That's okay.
actually, Warren, you just hit on something that I really wish Apple would address.
Yeah,
and that's which
handoff.
device grabs the S Lady voice.
Yep.
It used to be pretty good, but it's gotten progressively worse to the point where I can issue an S Lady command, and it's very clear what device this should apply to. You know, like the HomePod is playing music. Hey, S Lady, louder.
Yeah.
Okay. So why should my iPhone in the other room say okay?
Yeah, I get
And the
that too.
HomePod doesn't get louder.
Yeah.
Or
And with all the devices we have, it's like you just throughout the house, you just hear, yes, can I help? Hello?
yeah, or I have an alarm that goes off, like a timer. And so I'll say, hey, S Lady, stop. Now, the timer doesn't stop on the device where the timer was going, but the other device in the other room that was streaming music stops the music.
Right.
And yeah, it's very
I mean, same thing with AirPods. I mean, I had to shut off the auto connect over to the AirPods because it would mess me up here on the podcast because I connect my AirPods to my Mac, but then my iPhone it was turned on for auto, and so was my iPad, and it would just, you know, if I move my iPhone nearby, it's just, it connect. I'm like, oh, don't do that.
I very
So I'll just
rarely
turn it
say,
off.
hey, yes. I usually will hit the appropriate button for the device, like the watch or the phone at this point.
That's what I want to do.
And then I turn off the Mac Siri because it's not useful.
Yes, it's like the Cortana for Mac.
Pretty much is.
One of the first things I do during setup is turn off S Lady on my Mac.
And when I had a Mac with a touch bar, that was even worse because he was just hit the button that launched it. So you had to turn that off too. You know, every time he tried to do anything.
Oh
else.
yeah, yep. I had to disable that on my touch bar.
Yep. And then the other thing that was discovered was Apple introducing a battery recalibration tool for the iPhone in 14.5, and they are saying that this was a 9to5 Mac that found this. It's in the iOS 14.5 code, which will show up for users who have experienced reduced peak battery performance. And the code does reveal an URL to a support article on Apple's website, which they link, that now is live, that provides more details about this feature, which I, of course, didn't even click that link, and that's an Apple support article. Yeah. So this is understanding recalibration of battery health reporting system on the iPhone 11 Pro, and 11 Pro Max. In other words, older phones that have the issue with their batteries starting to diminish in performance, dropping under 100%. So that's interesting. I didn't even know they were doing that. So to see where that goes to, I think the battery
do this on the iPad.
That would, that's
on
the
the
thing.
iPhone.
It doesn't mention anything on the iPad, just the iPhone. Yeah,
Well, not a lot of people have problems with the battery on the iPad. Some people do when things go wrong, but for the most part.
Yeah.
I have 2 iPads where they need new batteries. And there's nothing on the iPad that lets me really look at the battery health.
I don't think it does.
And now that you say it, my mom has an old 12.9 that has a shop battery, so she just leaves it plugged in all the time too.
Yeah, and one of these days when it's safer, I'll get the batteries replaced. But in the meantime, there's no options for controlling battery performance. No information about your battery health. Just, hey, here's what's using the battery.
Gotta talk to Cal at IM and Max. Maybe they'll do something for you, huh?
Oh, Cal would be more than happy to replace the batteries for me. I just have to figure out a way to safely get 2 iPads over to the UK and back to the United States.
Yeah, without it getting stuck in customs somewhere.
Yeah, or stolen or broken or
just take a trip. It's time.
Take a trip. Yeah, I want to be in the UK right now. Now with this pen.
They're doing all right. My wife's going in a few weeks, I think. So.
Oh, is she?
They're not doing all right.
Yeah, they're fine. I think that France and Brazil have problems.
Germany's not doing
Germany's having trouble. Yeah.
Yeah. What it was Brazil that the president told everybody just to stop being so dramatic. Did you hear that?
Oh,
it's like 4,000 people. 4,000 people died today, and the president says, "Stop being so dramatic," or something like to that effect, which was fun.
Another topic I wanted to bring up. This was actually a story in Mac Rumors, but I thought it was a good topic for us to talk about. Android rapidly losing users to iPhone. Android appears to be rapidly losing loyal users to the iPhone, according to a recent survey by CellCell. The survey examined brand loyalty of 5 major smartphone makers, the preferred brand of choice for switchers, factors, and brand loyalty, all that fun stuff. And according to the findings, the brand loyalty for Apple is at an all-time high at almost 92%. No surprise. Wow. Up from 90.5% in 2019. So it's dropped, went up almost 2 points. Samsung, on the other hand, has a loyalty rate of dropping of about 11.7% from 85.7 in 2019 to 74% in 2021. Apple users were found to also have 18% more loyalty to their brands than Samsung users, with as many as 26% of Samsung's users intending to switch to another brand the next time they upgrade. So really, I can go through on with this, but I think really the biggest thing is, and I think we're starting to see this now, is Samsung is in trouble with the Android with their device with the S21. There were already rumors of talking about maybe they might even drop the Note, which was supposed to be their big flagship phone, and but I hear more and more that people are just are fed up, and I'm not surprised. I mean, I think Android phones are just so all over the map. There's so many models out there. There's so many different versions of the OS. The OS is never updated. I mean, I can go on and on. Jeff, what do you think? I just don't. I'm just not surprised at all about this.
I'm not surprised either. There are a lot of people that choose Android because they don't like Apple for whatever reason, right, or they feel like they're getting a more open platform, so they can customize things much more, and at the same time, there's a lot of people that have been buying Android phones because it costs less or are perceived to cost less, depending on what you're getting, and they're frustrated because of everything you've already listed off. Yeah. And so they're deciding to go to an iPhone because they want something that they feel is going to be more reliable, more secure. On a side note, speaking of secure, did you see the report that the Android phones are sending it's like 10 times as much data back to Google.
Yeah,
as
I missed that.
iPhones
I just missed that article, but I was going
It
to
was
put that in there.
funny,
Yeah,
but then Google said Google is denying this and saying their method of testing wasn't so good. So,
Well, I mean, the cynical part of me says, of course they're saying that.
yeah, exactly.
And why is the methodology flawed? Well, because it showed the problem. And if you did the test right, it wouldn't give you the results that you saw, and we would look better. Yeah, it's.
I mean, it's just interesting. I mean, Apple did a great thing with iOS 14. They brought the customization. That was the biggest bellyache of a lot of people, especially who were Android users, that had the options of being able to do all the customized icons and the widgets and all the additional things. So Apple said, okay, here we go. So now you can add widgets to your heart's content on an iPhone. You can customize. I mean, some of those people that I have seen on YouTube channels of the way they customize an iPhone is like a little over the top a bit, but I mean, you know, I love them. They can do it.
And not quite as much as Android. The widgets are different in the sense that their widgets are more live. They do things where, you know, Apple's are not quite that.
Well, I feel
dynamic at this point. But they're getting there. They're going to work on it, but. You know, Android's widgets are definitely a little bit different than the way Apple does it. And certainly there's no, you know, people are using hacks to make shortcuts still, right. Which is, but icons, which they're still using that shortcut app to do it, to make the icons, which is still kind of hacky. And they found a way to, you know, not make the banner pop out now when you do it, which is good, but I mean, they could do more. So iOS 15, maybe. They're going to do a little bit more of that stuff, which is not a bad thing. I think they saw that people like it. I think they just don't want people having ugly, you know, home screens, and I think that's what they're trying to avoid. Yeah. You know, one thing that Android does that I wish iPhone does, like every other Apple device, you could have you know, changing wallpaper. You know, when you like even a watch where you go this and this and this, it changes wallpaper. I would love my phone to do that. Have a photo album that.
Rotating wallpaper. Yeah, because you get bored of that wallpaper after a while. You're like, I gotta go change it.
My Mac, I could on my MacBook, I could do it. On my phone, I could do it. Just on my Apple TV, I could do it. Just the one thing I'm looking at all the time, I wanted to do that too.
I had the same wallpaper literally for years.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you're that blue one, right?
With that honeycomb pattern on it.
Yeah.
So I don't
even know where I got it.
I got so annoyed that I actually created a shortcut that changes the wallpaper. You could download these now. And you could also set the shortcut to run at certain times of the day. And when you plug in so my wallpaper, that's how I change my wallpapers with this Siri shortcut.
That's really cool. Warren, you are very clever.
You are smart.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, that's something you should be sharing with people.
I think we talked about it once, or maybe I wanted to talk about it once.
Yeah, you should totally share that. Yeah, it's a special perk for people that listen to the show.
Yeah,
they can wordify their wallpaper. In the show notes.
I'm going to send you the link of how to do this.
All right, good. But in closing about this topic, I mean, iPhone for sure. I mean, we're all biased. Let's face it. We all love Apple and iPhone, and I guess we're not. I don't know how much of a fair assessment we can give between Android and iPhone, but I think iPhone, in its sense, I would feel absolutely more secure using an iPhone than I would an Android device. I mean, just on the pure things of security. The Google Play Store, there's so much rogue development that's going on in that App Store, and that, I mean, as much scrutiny at the App Store for iPhone, for Apple is getting these days, you know, I feel a lot safer because there's not going to be a lot of garbage in that App Store to download some really bad apps out there. So, All right, let's move on to our next topic, which I was going to talk about is, of course, with iOS, with the beta 6 that came out, there was also the tvOS 14.5 was the release, as well as for the HomePod. But there was a discovery in the code for 14.5 for tvOS that a potential new remote finally is going to be replaced with the old remote that everybody's not a big fan of. Got a link in the show notes with the article. This is in 9to5 Mac. They're calling it the B519 remote for Apple TV, but this is interesting. They're saying this is going to be in cooperation with cable companies. This was the update. It appears that an alternate Apple TV remote that Apple worked with cable companies to make, as the report explains, the remote was designed for cable companies, hence the guide button, because there's a guide button on here as well. And rumors about an Apple TV remote have been around for a while now, but Apple really hasn't shown much evidence until now, to seeing that they're finally considering making their remote a lot more friendlier than it is now. And that really brings the debate into play here, is really what's the future of Apple TV, the Apple TV device in itself? Where is this going to go? I mean, are they going to do anything with it? Are they going to continue on with it? We just don't know. Jeff, that's been my debate with this for a while, is trying to figure out what Apple is going to do with the Apple TV. I mean, are they going to keep it, or as we've been seeing, as we've talked about this on the show many times across many past weeks, you're seeing it on Roku, you're seeing it on other devices, you're seeing it on smart TVs, you're seeing it, the Apple TV app. So what do you think? I mean, what are your thoughts in seeing where the Apple TV is going to go? Is Apple going to continue on with it? That's, I think, is my question.
Well, I hope they keep making Apple TV. If they don't, and there are a lot of people that say, why do they need to? Because you can get Apple TV on your smart TV.
Right.
Well, you can, but that means that everyone that wants to watch Apple's content needs to go and get a smart TV. Sure. Or get a new smart TV. And that really limits where you can watch Apple's content. But if you have an actual box that Apple makes, every TV now becomes Apple TV compatible. And you also have the thing with, if you put Apple TV as an app onto other televisions, it's not the same thing as having an Apple TV, because you're not getting the Apple interface, you're not getting the Apple app experience, and what you're really getting is an interface that gets you into Apple's content. Right. So if you're one of the people that is into games on the Apple TV, well, that goes away completely. And if you want to have apps that fit more with the Apple TV experience, well, that goes away too, because now you just have whatever apps are on the television. And if you're looking for updates to those apps, well, that typically doesn't happen on a television. True. So, there's so many ways where an Apple TV box, even if all you're using it for is watching Apple TV Plus, is still going to be a better experience than watching through your smart TV.
Yeah. And again, I think more of the topic here was about the Apple TV, but as well as the remote. I think the remote, and we've had plenty of discussions about the remote. I've got the Function 101 remote that's been pretty nice, but of course that has limitations, no Siri, and such. But I think there's a future with this. I mean, Apple obviously has quite an investment in Apple TV Plus, with a lot of content that they're coming up with and signing major deals. But I'd like to know really what's the future of it. And they've been very, very quiet about it. Warren, do you have any thoughts about the Apple TV? I don't know how much you use it, or
no, but I have a theory on this, since they're working with the cable company. I have Fios, and one of the biggest issues with the Apple TV is, you have to switch between, cable and the Apple TV to do a lot of things. Right. But anyways, I have Fios, and if I turn on a certain channel, I get Netflix. They have it where you could actually get Netflix on the app, and it looks like Netflix. So Apple's working with the cable companies, and they're, the technology could be there to work with Xfinity and Verizon and Frontier to say, this remote is going to work with your cable box, and if you hit this button, your cable box is going to send you to the Apple TV app. just like it does in Netflix. And that's going to be the future of Apple TV. It's going to be through your cable company's box as an option.
I agree with you because
so that'll be Apple TV Plus. None of the rest of the Apple TV experience.
It could open up some apps just like the Netflix app somehow opens on my Verizon TV.
So they'd have to include an Apple processor in that. Because
they got Netflix to work on it. I'm sure they'll be able to. Somehow they can do something. I don't know. But they could add a processor to a cable box.
What's going to happen is
it's going to integrate more. It's all I'm saying is somehow they're going to integrate cable companies with Apple TV more. So this way you don't have to have a separate box and you're going to use the cable.
I like where you're going with this. I'm going to hit it from a different angle. Okay. It's not the Comcast cable box that you get today or whatever carrier. It's an Apple box that has slots for the cards for your cable provider.
That'd be nice too, except a lot of them don't do the cards here anymore.
Yeah, they're going away from that.
So
well, I like that idea because then you still get the full power of an Apple TV.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Somehow they maybe, because I know Xfinity does something. They have their own.
I can explain it.
Yeah, does Xfinity have like a Roku kind of built in or something like that?
Xfinity has the X1 platform. That's their platform that they use. And it seems like every day they're adding more. Like just today, I got an email saying Disney Plus is now part of X1. So you don't have to. So I think what Xfinity is wanting to do is they want to bring all their content into their X1 platform. So you don't leave their box. So you're not leaving you're not leaving their platform. I mean, obviously they have Peacock because it's part of NBC who owns Comcast and Xfinity. But I'm thinking along the lines of this remote that if it's going to work for the cable companies, it's going to work in conjunction with the X1 box. So you can, if you want to, switch over. Like you were saying, I like your theory that you could switch over by pushing the input button off on the remote, and it's going to switch you to the platform automatically. So, like what we're doing now, I have a home theater. I have to switch between sources on my receiver. Maybe they're going to come up with something that's going to give them the opportunity to be able to switch, or could they be partnering with cable companies and maybe want to include the Apple TV type of device that would work with it? It's hard to say.
And you have to understand the end goal. The end goal has always been like a unified guide that basically you could tell your remote, I want to watch this, and it goes through all the apps, and it goes through cable TV if you have it,
right?
To get the content. And basically that never happened. That's what that's what the Apple TV app was supposed to do, but a lot of players didn't want to play along. You can't do Netflix with it. So, getting, cable integrated with that, if you have cable, would be a game changer. Some people could get basic cable and pay for the apps they want to have and still have a unified guide and an easy way to get through all of that. Because when you ask people what the issue with cord cutting is, like my wife, is I don't want to have to deal with all these apps. And that's the big issue.
Exactly. Yeah. And my wife's the same way. I mean, as much as I like to cord cut and go to other services, and we probably would save a little bit in the long run, it's just the X1 platform makes things so much easier for her and for everybody, really, because you've got a DVR, you've got all the X1 apps, you got all the content that's accessible through there. Granted, I'm not a huge fan of the X1 platform, to be honest with you. I just don't think it's that great. It's slow. It sometimes it doesn't move around real easy. And
if Apple made something like that.
Yeah. If Apple made something like that, yeah.
Yeah. It's
hard
of
to
course
say.
There's ways to make this happen. And the big stumbling block that I'm seeing, Warren, you already brought up, which is getting the unified interface. And Apple tried to do it, and a lot of the companies chose not to play along, which means that you still don't have a unified interface. So much so that even though a lot of the content that I watch through my Apple TV, I could just use the TV app and it would be all in one place. Yep. I don't bother because not enough of the content is there So I would have to remember when I could use that versus going to the actual app. So I just always go to the actual app.
Yep. And for a normal user, all it takes is one time to have to go through that, and they're like, I'm not.
Yeah, and they're done.
When
They're not going to do it again.
The more technical people like, I like we can do that because we like to play with different programs, but most people.
I mean, I've got every device here: Roku, TV, TiVo, Stream. I have them all here, but I'm crazy. I mean, I have a disease just like we talked about with home speakers. I got that disease with, was it Roku, Fire, TiVo, Stream?
There's too much with all that, and there's too many apps. I mean, the cable companies would, I think, be okay with all this cord cutting because they're still selling you the internet, and as long as they're selling you the internet and a basic cable package, they'll be okay. They'll still make their money, and so I think. That's going to be an option. Definitely going to be interesting to see where Apple goes. I'm hoping they stick with it. I mean, I think Jeff, you agree as well. I really like the device. It is pricey. I agree. I mean, when you can go buy a $30 Roku device that works perfectly fine. I had family members that wanted to buy. I said they needed to get an upgrade because they're using like a Fire Stick, and you have no space to download. It's funny that you don't have no space to download any apps because it has 4 gigs of that of memory. So every time you want to download an app, you got to delete another one, make room for it. So, I mean, you could buy even the next step up on the Roku. It's still only $79, so it's a lot cheaper. So I think there's
Apple has to rethink that.
I have a 4K Fire Stick. I don't have a 4K Apple TV, but I have a 4K Fire Stick that was $60 and plugs into the back of the TV, and it's it's not the most beautiful interface in the world, but just as an FYI, Roku and Fire TV have iOS apps, just like you can the remote app for Apple TV. It's similar. They have their own versions of that mostly work. Right.
See, and stuff like that is what makes Apple TV so appealing to me.
Exactly.
I have a single box, and every service that I want to use, I just need to get the app from the App Store, and now my Apple TV does another thing for me.
Yep. All right. Let's for the few remaining minutes we have left here on the show, I wanted to talk a little bit about apps and what the top rankings were. There's a site out there that does rankings. It's called App Annie, and I think you usually have to pay for this, but they do show this so people can see it. I did link this in the show notes, and I wanted to see what the top apps are in the United States this was overall since March 31st. You start looking at the top 5 that are free. At least the top 2 are your consuming media. HBO Max has been obviously very popular because they've been releasing it on movies. Kong versus Godzilla is on there, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, watched it last night.
Yeah, I got to watch it still.
It's on the list. Yep.
Yep, it's on my list for this probably tomorrow. YouTube, of course, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, Messenger. Those are all social media. And then you go down and you have the Gmail, which, I think actually the Gmail app is pretty good. I'm starting to go into it more when I'm checking my mail, as I would be using the Apple Mail. And sometimes I just get slow downloading. So then you go to the Gmail app, and it does have a nice interface. And then the Zoom, of course, and the Cash app through Square, paying cash. Amazon, and then of course some games. So I can go on and on, but I mean, you look at some of these. This is a top 50 list. That's just free. Then you look at the top 2 for paid, of course, games. Like Minecraft, Balloons, TD, Procreate. That's interesting to see that's popular. That's a great app.
Procreate is a surprisingly powerful app.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. And this is just an iOS. You can switch this. You also
is it from Planned Parenthood, that app? Because that's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Oh, bless your heart. It's an image editing and creation app. So yeah.
So, you guys, any final thoughts? Because we're getting close on time here. That of your thoughts of these apps. I mean, there's a lot of them I use all the time. On iOS, it's for the iPhone. That if you look at the iPad, the number one app stays pretty much the same. HBO Max is very popular right now. So,
Yeah, I'm surprised I still did this as we were talking before the show. Is I remember these rating apps from before the App Store had ratings, and
Right.
I used to go on them all the time just to see what was coming out.
So, any other closing thoughts on the apps before we wrap things up?
I'm not
here?
overly surprised.
Yeah, me either. I think the rankings seem pretty solid, and especially in popularity and where things go. So, all right, gosh, the show just flew by here again. We appreciate everybody listening here. Let me go ahead and wrap things up for this week. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address at feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Twitter at intouchwithios. You can subscribe in your favorite podcatcher, including Apple Podcasts and the Audacity app, which has got renamed. The radio.com is now is it Odyssey, excuse me.
Audacity is a whole other
Audacity is there's a whole other thing. It's Odyssey. Yeah. Crazy name, but that used to be radio.com.
Don't have the audacity to call Oddity Audacity.
Yeah, but you can listen there as well as many other places. But better yet, just go to our website at intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are there. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Twitter at DaveG65. Jeff, thanks again, as always, for being here. We love having you. Please tell everybody where they can find you.
It's so awesome to get to be here again. I seriously have so much fun with both of you.
Me too.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram. I'm Jay Gamet, both places. Mac Voices Live on Tuesday evenings. The Big Show on Thursdays. The Mac Show on Fridays. And here occasionally. I get around. If you Google me, you can find me.
I get around.
And Warren, what's going on in Mac of the Future?
Oh, I'm looking. We had a nice gentleman think that the UK government and a bowling alley in London was spying on him through his iPhone.
I saw that.
Yeah, I gave him the boot eventually because I think he was trolling us, maybe.
I think that the real story is that you are collaborating with the bowling alley. And that you needed to get him out of the group before he exposed you.
I still get the emails from. I lived in London. I still get the emails from All Star Lanes. They're a quality company. But I did say the people from England do not know how to bowl. They have no common sense when it comes to bowling. They let their kids run around on the actual lanes while you're trying to bowl.
Does some things with the oil pattern.
Do they still do overhand bowling? It's
probably.
April Fool's Day. I'm making that up.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I think they probably did.
Mate.
But yeah, it's a mess. Anyways, we had that, and everybody we're talking about the March event that didn't happen, and
yeah, that was always a big time. But
a couple of rumors, but it was great to have you, Jeff, as always.
Yes, and it sure is. And of note, I'm getting a new car next week, and I'm very excited to have that vehicle because it does have CarPlay. Apple CarPlay will now be in my vehicle. I'm going to be very happy. So you can anticipate I'll be doing a number of reviews of my finally having an experience as in my car using CarPlay. It also has Android Auto. I may even dabble in that to see comparisons. So I'm pretty excited with the technology. So you'll be hearing about that in future episodes. But thanks to you, Jeff. Thanks to you, Warren. And thanks to everybody for listening. We really appreciate it. And we'll talk again soon.